It happened at 4 a.m. A house swallowed by flames. Inside 6 children asleep, none of them made it out alive. At first it looked like a tragic accident or maybe even an attack. But soon the truth would surface, and it was darker than anyone imagined. This was no accident, this was murder planned by their own parents, and it became known as the crime that made detectives cry. May 11, 2012 18, Victory Road, Derby, England. At exactly 4 a.m., neighbors were jolted awake by screams and smoke. The Philpott family home was on fire, inside 6 children trapped upstairs. Firefighters fought to save them. But by the time the smoke cleared, 5 were gone and 13-year-old Duane died in the hospital 2 days later. All 6 were Mick Philpott's children. Jade just 10, John 9, Jack 7, Jesse 6, Jaden only 5, and Duane the eldest 13 years old. They were smart, smiling, full of life, all asleep in their beds when the fire took everything. At first, their parents Mick and Mairead Philpott appeared devastated. They cried on live TV, pleaded for answers. The world believed them, but detectives noticed something odd. Mick's calm, his eagerness to speak to the press. The tears, they seemed rehearsed. Forensics told a different story. Petrol had been poured through the letterbox. A discarded can and glove found nearby, and soon petrol was found on the clothes of Mick, Mairead, and their friend, Paul Mosley. The fire wasn't random, it was a plan. Detectives took a risk. They bugged the hotel room where Mick and Mairead were staying after the fire. What they heard changed everything. Laughter, jokes, discussions about framing Mick's ex Lisa Willis. The plan: start a fire, rescue the kids, blame Lisa, win custody, keep benefits. But it spun out of control and 6 children never came out alive. So who was Mick Philpott? A father of 17 children. But more than that, a manipulator. A narcissist. He once stabbed a former girlfriend, controlled every woman in his life, treated them like property. Psychologists described him as a classic psychopath, charming on the outside, but dangerous inside. A man obsessed with power, money, and attention, even if it meant sacrificing his own children. The trial began in February 2013. All 3, Mick, Mairead, and Paul Mosley, were charged. Not with murder but manslaughter. Because they claimed they never meant for the children to die. But the jury didn't need to believe they wanted death, they only needed to see the reckless, selfish act, and they did. On April 2, 2013, all 3 were found guilty. Mick Philpott was sentenced to life, with a minimum of 15 years. Mairead and Paul got 17 years each, but the story didn't end there. In 2020, Mairead was released. In 2023, Mosley walked free. And in 2028, Mick himself becomes eligible for parole. A thought that chills many to the core. The home at 18, Victory Road, was demolished. Not because of fire damage, but because no one wanted to live with those memories. The funeral was held without the parents. The community was broken, and the police, hardened by years of experience, admitted something rare. This case wasn't just about fire, it was about control, ego, and the terrifying truth that monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes they live right at home, behind smiles, behind headlines, and sometimes they call themselves Dad. If you found this story haunting, share it. Subscribe to Mindtrace Crime for more deep dives into the darkest corners of the human mind, and remember, understanding the criminal mind may be the only way to stop the next one.